The average Joe, or Jolene, as the case may be, does not have time in their lives to keep up with the county machine chipping away and piling on. How can the average citizen keep up with it all?
They can't. That's just like your question says. The best they can do is hope to belong to organizations like the Eagle Forum or organizations that are involved in the process and attend forums. And I mean, I've seen things from the county email stuff just change overnight. And if I didn't get a certain email, I'm lost. I just don't see any way the current process is. This is something I would like to take to the advisors that I would have and see what we could do to help educate the community more, because education is the answer to 99% of our problems. And unless we get that, it's just going to get worse and worse. And that's taking control. Basically, this election, I had something written down. This election is about the community setting the agendas and the priorities, rather than staff and special interests. And that's what I think is at the heart of that. That's what I think is at the heart of my running. That's what I would like to do.
Thanks, Frank. Everybody's a special interest, and everybody has problems dealing with government. And the first thing is, the people that are working in government, that are doing the job, they have to be allowed to do the job, and if they're not doing it, they've got to be trained so that they will do it. The people that are working there, and you know, in this county government, in many respects, it's much better than, you know, the way that the state deals with people. And you know, I think that the county employees are basically well-meaning, intelligent, and doing a good job. And you know, whether they're always doing a good job is a problem. And you know, you can have a regulatory simplification process if you have, for instance, advisory committees that can come up with regulatory simplification that would work. But you know, it's a tough road to hoe. I mean, we're dealing with government at all levels that has become cumbersome and opaque and difficult. And I'm not sure that that's going to end anytime soon.
Well,
whoever wrote that question, that's a very good question. I would consider myself as one of the average Joes. My peer group would be the average Joes and Jolenes of the community. You know, my peer group is the builders, the electricians, the plumbers. That is the general group of people that I hang out with. I had the privilege of being involved, so I could keep an eye on what the county was doing. But for my other peer group, I was sitting here thinking about how a lot of those people got their information to try to keep up with what was going on, what was going to hit their back pocket when their paychecks came out and when their property taxes came out. What kind of say did they have in to say what was going on, or what information did they get? I would have to say that it's very difficult for the average person to keep track of what's going on unless they want to be involved.
I agree with Frank. There's no way the average person can keep up with all the changes, and then it's written in foreign language. Unless you really study it all the time, it can be real challenging. And so, as a former staff person with changes, when I worked at Skagit County, I worked hard to develop brief checklists that would highlight the things they need to be concerned about. But then as staff, we help design through what applies and what doesn't apply. And too often staff is just shoves all the paperwork at you and said, here, go figure it out. And so I think having staff that is multifaceted, that knows enough about the zoning and the critical areas, that they can sit down with someone and look at it and say, here's how it all applies to you, and hone it in for them to make sure that they're focusing only on what applies to them. Because to sift through the code, it's not realistic. And so I would like to bring that same level of customer service that we have had at Skagit County to here at home. And I know that there's a lot of counties that do it well, and then there's those that just figure they're not going to help the citizen, they have to figure it out all on their own. I've always been frustrated as why someone would actually have to pay me to help them. And I usually have, you shouldn't have to pay me to help you. You should be able to go into the county and get a certain amount of information without it costing you. And so I've worked, that's why I left the county, was to be different and cost effective, work pro bono for those who are getting put through the ringer, and charge those that are, builders and people actually out there, doing it for a living, and then, work more as a public advocate. So I think we need staff that can really help people hone down what applies to them.